Welcome to a very special episode of Signal Chain Stories, the podcast for musicians, artists, and creatives. My name is Miles Kundra, and I'm here with the wonderful Modio. And we are in our special wood studio or forest studio in the middle of nowhere. No, we're actually at Superbooth right now, which is also why we are face to face in person, which is amazing. And it's right now, as you're listening to this episode, it's around it's 4:30 on a Saturday. So Superbooth is nearly over, and we want to speak about our highlights here at the trade show. So yeah, maybe we dive right into the topic. I think it was a very extreme and very exhausting weekend, but it was also amazing fun. If you followed us on YouTube, you might have already seen a couple of videos. But yeah, it was really fun. And how did you like it?
For me, it was the first time as a creator there. So I have to say I'm really happy about the community part about it. Like how you can meet other creators, you can meet the developers there, and all that stuff Superbooth is super nice for that.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. And I really like that about the show, that it doesn't feel like a trade show. It's more like a festival with community vibes, which I think in this scene that we are in is super important, because you can get only new ideas if you bounce ideas with other people and kind of like get that human input. And here you have all that, which I think is pretty cool.
Absolutely. So I mean, it's a lot about gear, but I wanted to say that first, because I think that's actually way cooler on that festival. But let's talk about gear.
Let's talk about gear.
You tell me your first and most, like, before you came, not after the show, but before you came. What was the most excitement for you?
The new Moog synthesizer.
Yeah.
It was before I came. I've seen the new Moog Messenger, and I've seen it's a new mono Moog synthesizer with 2 oscillators, a little bit of a smaller form factor than the Sub 25, and also a couple of new features with arpeggiator, with a step sequencer, with a lot of new modulation opportunities and more presets. I think on a Sub 25 you can store 16 presets, and on this one I think more than 200 presets. So before I came here, this was actually something I was most excited about.
Okay.
What was it for you before you came here?
I mean, for me, I think finally seeing the new update from the S4 from Torso Electronics was really exciting for me. Everything else I didn't check so much, actually. I was just in my little bubble like always. But now I see again everything, and I'm like, okay, wow, I should check again. There's so many cool developers also doing, like, in small little companies doing crazy stuff that I was missing out for years because I was really in my Ableton bubble. And I mean, I love hardware too, right? So Superbooth is really inspiring in that case. But yeah, it was the S4 update. I also have it now. I played a little bit of it.
And do you like it so far?
We have the performance mode. We can play scenes. When I played today at the booth there, I used the scene mode. I still have to get used to it. It's really fresh. It's
new, so
2 days in with it, but it was already fun. Yeah, it was already fun to finally jam that thing and not like finding workarounds to play live with it. So that's super cool. Also, meeting the team was really nice. Finally, they're really nice people, I think.
Yeah, you get that human connection and also understand a little bit more about the thought process behind
100%.
The different tools. And I think that's always important to wrap your head around it.
Yeah, they also showed me the T1 in a different perspective now, so I'm really hyped about this. And I think I came also a little bit to the Superbooth, like, just in the back, like, mainly for meeting you, but now I was like, okay, actually, if I can find a main sequencer for everything, my hardware and my Ableton, that would be something maybe I consider buying later. And now we have to talk about the horse in the room.
Okay.
Because I feel like the T1 was really, really interesting for me, but I have like a A-B relationship with Oxi.
Oh, the Oxi, yeah. That was already, to be honest, one of my one of my favorites, or one of the things I was most excited about before getting here, because shortly before Superbooth started, Oxi Instruments, a very small company from Spain, announced the Mark II version of their Oxi One sequencer. If you are familiar with that, or if you're not familiar with that, it's a sequencer that basically before had 4 tracks which you could run different sequencer modes on. You could sequence everything via USB, but you could also sequence via CV out. It has MIDI in and out, so a lot of different routing options, and it's, I think, one of these sequencers you can sequence your whole studio with if you use it in the right way. And the Mark II now adds a lot of new functionality. I think at first you now not only have 4 tracks but 8 tracks. And all of these 8 tracks also support multi-track, which basically mean you can, with one track, sequence 8 different things. So let's say you have kind of like a drum rack with 8 different sounds, and then you can only use one track to sequence that whole drum rack, and then you still have 7 other tracks which are completely free. So yeah, it gives you a lot of different sequencing options. And yeah, we had a demo yesterday at the Oxi booth, and it pretty much blew my mind. Like,
I want to a bit.
Oh my god.
I didn't know about the first one. I know the modules that they do because I played with some when I was working at Schneidersladen. I remember it was like a new brand that came in and we were like testing it out, and I was like, oh, sounds nice. But I never went into this company for real. And now with this new sequencer, when I filmed the video, when we got the interview, I was hearing all the function, also with the grooves and the randomizing that you can also per each row. I say, I don't want to change my kick, I don't want to change my hi-hats, but I want to change all the accent notes and all the groove and some notes from the rest. You can just do that, and that is very versatile.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest wow for me was like, I can have this with USB-C on my desk and sequence my full Ableton.
Yeah.
But then when I feel like I want to go to my analog corner, I just unplug that thing and I have all the CV and gates outs.
Yeah.
And I'm just home again.
Yeah.
With the same muscle memory. So when you learn
absolutely,
that thing,
yeah,
you can go everywhere.
You can use it in different directions. That was exactly my thought process. I thought, okay, I could use it just with Ableton Live, so I could take my laptop with me and then this sequencer and already do so much stuff with it. But then also just compose whole tracks just on my Moog or on my 2 Moogs, which I think is pretty insane. And the thing is battery powered, so it's like pretty odd. And I think the battery runs pretty long, so yeah, it just makes it way more portable and versatile. And I think this is stuff that is just pretty awesome. So definitely one of my highlights.
Yeah, for me too. Next to the T1, I still have to know which one is the one for me, because I feel like the Oxi have 2 mindsets. Like you have this one mindset where you say, I want to really particular arrange the patterns, the notes, after this time this happened, la la la.
Yeah.
Where the T1 was more like, I want random stuff that stays synced and musical, and it's like an easy touch and it starts something exciting happening, but you not really control it in, it's more like controlled chaos. What I'm a big digger for, so I think the philosophy goes still more there. But after the interview with Oxi, I realized you can have it there too.
Yeah.
It's just, you have both. So maybe it's too much for me personally. So maybe tempting to the T1, but also just because I think it works really nice together and also looks really nice together when you already have the S4. You know?
Obviously, I mean, yeah, it's the same company, so they pair together very nicely. And I think you don't need to charge then also the T1. You can just plug it directly into the S4.
You charge it just with another device. Like you just need USB-C cable.
Yeah.
And that is really nice and convenient also.
Yeah. That is pretty cool.
And it's half the size also.
Yeah, it's definitely smaller.
Yeah.
That's true.
So yeah, for me, I think it was like a sequencer Superbooth. I was really in the hunt for the sequencers here. Like I saw so many cool. I saw also like a guy who used his Steam Deck and installed a tracker on it. That was an open source project that is completely free, and he was literally sequencing with a tracker. You know what trackers are? Yeah. So like it just got a sequence running down on that thing, sequencing his modular.
Yeah.
I was like,
that's sick.
I love this hacky stuff on the Superbooth.
That
you
is
know,
sick.
they're just
Yeah.
nerds coming together.
Yeah. Also, the guys we saw today, like with the Visual, I think is the company called, a very small company, and they kind of like made a browser-based sequencer for visual effects. So basically, you have a browser, you open the web page, and then you get a sequencer where you can pump in kind of like different things you want to
Different
sequence,
video clips,
effects,
what
or
you
whatever.
did before or something. Like I think
Exactly.
what they told me that was like the idea is that you're making complex stuff in before, like for the gig, you're making complex stuff with Touch Designer, making cool visuals, but then in a club the computer will die on that because you need a lot of GPU, and you can just sample it on that thing and then sample that sequence and make nice blurs and fans, and that based on like in the future maybe even on a hardware.
They're thinking about
and
it.
then like with CV and MIDI synced, so you don't have to map things. What
That's
is
awesome.
most of the time like a lot of struggle
It's a
and
big
extra
pain.
time.
Yeah, that's true.
And with this, you could just have really cool visuals, and you kind of sample them, and you just have cool effects to blend the samples.
Yeah.
That's the idea. I think that was also cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really nice. And then also something, unfortunately, we missed, but what I would have loved seeing was the dubby thing from, I think, from Componental is the company.
I will blend in a little clip. I think I got a talk where we saw one. I have a little clip of it.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. I think
that thing.
That thing. But it's like it's an open source project as well. It's an end of chain effect where you can load in different effects that you want to control by it, but it's still a hardware unit. So you load the effects onto it, and you can also add as many or as different effects as you want, and then use it either as a weird effect board or as an end of effect chain. So it's very versatile in that regard, and I think also it looks pretty cool. It has pretty big knobs, so also performance wise a good
really
option.
Nice to touch, I think. And then when you, like in my case, maybe I can make finally my stereo phaser. I'm always looking for a really nice stereo phaser that I can just have on my hardware stuff. There's not so much good phasers.
Maybe that's the one.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the one.
Something else?
Yeah. Coming back to the Moog Messenger, because after I tried it actually twice. On the first day, I think was the first thing we have seen on Thursday.
Yeah.
I also made a video about it on YouTube. And it's a pretty cool device. I really like that it's very playable, very approachable. I mean, if you've played a Moog before, then you kind of like know your way around it. It's no real rocket science. They added a couple of really cool new features like the resonance bass boost, so that finally if you use a ladder filter and crank up the resonance, there is actually a switch that you can flip on or off, and then it basically gives you bass, which is great, and I think a lot of people would want that. But one major thing for me that I'm really missing is duophonic mode, because it's something that the sub 25 and also 37 have, and I really love this feature to play both oscillators in different ways, and it's not something that is supported with this one. So I think it's not on my list to get it, but it's also great. You come here and you experience the gear and then find out it's great, but it's not for me, for my personal thing.
You decided now, because the last days he was like on off.
Yeah, I think for now. I never say never. But for now, I think I'm out.
I think I get that. I saw you and you was like, okay. And I mean, you already have it, you know? Like if you don't have a Moog, maybe that's a cool start point. But if you already have that baby there, you need a bit more to upgrade, you know?
That's true.
Just because of the size and like the same thing you already have is inside nice, but something is missing, it's actually a minus. So
yeah, that's true.
I would not do that.
Yeah, that's very true. Another highlight from you?
Huh?
Another highlight from you?
Yeah, I want to talk about Ableton Move. I was not giving a fuck about the product when it came and making like some marketing campaigns. I was like, yeah, what is that? I don't care. It will be like a toy. First I was hyped, of course. I was thinking, push 3 and small and whatever, right? Or maybe something with faders.
I was hoping for that as well.
We all want faders.
We all want faders.
Don't get it.
Ableton, give it to us.
Yeah,
we want faders.
Give us faders.
Oh, there's a train coming. Oh, you can actually see it in the background. And you can hear it in the background.
Wow, with smoke.
Oh, nice. Looks dope. That's for the cinematic vibes. We do everything we can to give you the best entertainment, you know. It's so weird. You sit in the middle of a forest and then a train passes by. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Ableton Move was like kind of something I was not really interested in. But they got this like cool moment where they said, hey, you can have it for 1 hour. You want to try it? Because we was talking to them. And we was
very
like,
clever marketing as well. Like because everywhere at Superbooth you could see people sitting around playing the Ableton Move. Very clever. So they had their product basically everywhere, all over the place.
Well, everyone has a Move. Maybe I should check it out.
That's how it works.
Ableton Smart Move. You know what you're doing now. And I was surprised because literally you can make this thing to an amazing drum machine.
Oh yeah.
You can just build everything in Ableton, you always do, and then you just go load it on that device, and then you have a really nice, touchy, beautiful device, really well made, as like the hardware was solid,
super nice.
The knobs are really nice, and we played 2 times with it because we also did this little link jam where we was in a room and with random people, we both and another person just came. We are with link synced and we just jammed, and every time I try this thing now, it was like really easy to get your head around it.
Totally.
It's really, I think, for beginner friendly, but I can see this as like a thing I can put from my backpack out, have all the cool drums that I always do in Ableton, and already have it inside this little machine and sequence it with my fingers.
Yeah.
And then some other nice hardware where I can nerd inside on the side. And that would be the first time I see myself using Ableton in a live set in a hardware form, but it's kind of bringing Ableton into my hardware world, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
Yes. With the sequencer also, you know, that goes into my Ableton world. So I see like, these are the 2 things I think they got me in Superbooth that connect these 2 worlds a little bit for me. I think a nice new sequencer and maybe an Ableton Move to have proper drums from Ableton, because I was doing live acts with only modular, with drum machines based on sample, with the Electron, but you always have this different workflows. The Ableton push is like a workflow I am used to.
It's easy.
I have to push 1 still. I mean, I was really out of the game, but I know this pattern thing. And then a sequencer just in a row down makes totally sense.
Oh yeah.
To your brain really fast. So it's small. I can bring it everywhere. Even in holidays, you can just put it in an airplane.
That's my thought too.
Yeah, and just have like a little drum loop going on and have a jam, and then imagine putting like 1 rack of modular or something on top. Wow, I think you can make crazy live acts with the quality, because I think drums in your rack was always nice, but there was always something missing, because otherwise you need like a huge rack.
Yeah,
and that was always the turn off in the end. And with this, I could have the quality of my drums from Ableton, loading it up to this little device and just jam with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Move, surprisingly, the drum machine I'm looking for maybe.
Yeah.
I'd still have to go deeper with it, but...
Yeah. Same here. I think the Move was probably the biggest surprise of this show, because for me it was... Also, same as you, I thought the machine is not really deep enough, because only 8 macros for the synth tracks that you have on the Move is not really something where you can dive really deep into the sound engine and do your sound design.
Yep.
But it's actually also not what it's really made for. It's like for intuitive music making. And yesterday when I tried it for the first time, I think for me the most great thing about it was just so fun. It's just like something you just start to jam on. It's just like fun. Yeah, it's like really, it gets you this fun music making vibe, and that was the first point for me. Then obviously what you said, the portability, and that you can bring it literally everywhere and use it as a musical sketchpad. But then when we had the Ableton Link Jam yesterday, I also thought about it and was talking with Mathieu from the artist relations team from Ableton about it today at their booth. And he got me to the idea that in the future, because I was always, when I play live with Push and with my Moog, I was always missing something additional like a drum machine where I could add additional loops to the groove, so that I can really, the tracks that I already have and the stems that I have, I can make them groove more and add variations. And I think the Move, if you just connect it via link, you don't need a MIDI cable, everything stays in sync. And then you just take 1 audio cable, connect it to the other input of my Ableton Push.
And here we are, minimalism.
Minimalism, and you have another completely a world of a sound machine, because if you then add 4 different tracks with drum racks, that gives you 64 different sounds that you can trigger.
Yes, that's enough.
That's more than enough. That's crazy. So I think that's one of my biggest highlights, and something where I thought, okay, now I can not only see the Move as a note sketchpad, but also as something that would really add value to my live set. And I think that's what we want, right?
I can see how you use it as a drum machine, and then also you can play much more on your Moog and play also on the push then much more the keys also, and make other elements with that. You don't have to focus on the drums anymore. So no 100%. Switching of things, maybe having the push actually just for one device like the Diat, and then having the Moog and having like 2 cool hardware synths kind of with the push, you know, in that mode, and then having your little drum machine for the Ableton backend, you know.
That's perfect.
Kind of nice.
Yeah.
Imagine Diat on the Move.
Okay. S from Force Instrument, we need to talk to you.
Yes, please do it.
Please do it.
Do it. We want the hardware that is small so we can fucking tour around.
Oh, nice. Good stuff.
Okay, something else.
What else was there?
I mean, there was a lot.
Oh yeah, there really was a lot. One thing I also checked out, which I really liked, was the Labyrinth from Moog. I haven't tried it before, and when we were at the Moog booth, they also had it there, and we had a little jam with it. I mean, obviously, the Diat from Force goes a little bit in the same direction as the Labyrinth, but I like to have it in a kind of like hardware setup that is also a little bit more weird than the Diat. Or I mean, both can get pretty weird, but the Labyrinth, I had the feeling, is a little bit more uncontrollable, which opens for more happy accidents.
Yeah, you have way more knobs to spin also, right? I mean, the Diat don't have too many options, but a lot of sweet spots. And I think with the concept of 2 sequencers running against each other, you always get really interesting rhythmical patterns that are just like so musical and make music really complex and jazzy. So it's like, I think it's a really cool device. I saw it when it came fresh out, and I was already knowing that I will like it, but I stay away from gas. But now playing with it was really fun.
Yeah, that's how they
really
get you.
fun.
They get you to Superbooth, play everything, and then you want it.
Yeah, that was cool, absolutely.
Another highlight for you?
Thinking. For me, mainly was really like having a community around and meeting all the faces behind the channels, behind the machines, and also the mindset of like some companies, how they want to keep stuff open source, how some of them want to just work with knobs, some just want to work with patterns and pads and shit. It's just like cool to see how like you have sometimes similar devices, but they're just say, hey, we like more stuff to touch. We like that it's so small that you can have shift buttons and menu diving, but it's super small. So it's just cool to see the variation, because at Superbooth there's so many companies that you never hear before. So
that's true.
It's just really cool to see the stuff that you don't see online so much.
Exactly. And all our brains are wired differently. I don't know who said it today, but I think there was someone saying, I like to look at people's setups because it tells me a little bit how their brains work. Yeah. And I think that's such an awesome quote, because it's exactly that. What I also want to understand. Okay, you're doing this and that. Okay. You're doing, okay, I understand kind of like how you're thinking. So I think Superbooth is perfect for that, because you see so many different setups and how people do things. And that also gives you some new ideas for your own setup. Great. I think that was some good closing words. Some good closing words.
I don't want to add anything more here. Let's make it to a short one, because there's a party going on and I'm hearing dubstep music and I need to go there now.
Oh yeah, dubstep, drum and bass. Also, we heard drum and bass.
Dub system.
Yeah, we need to be there. Sorry guys, this one is a little bit shorter. But yeah, I think that was a really great show. I really enjoyed it. We now will try a couple of other instruments that we haven't tried before maybe. Yeah. And also, obviously, enjoy the good music. So thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah. Appreciate it. We say goodbye from Berlin, from Superbooth, and we see you and hear you again for the next episode. Take good care. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.